News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 189 in year 4, and we are going to start off this podcast by saying no. Juice, has not seen the new Flash trailer, so we are not going to be talking about it. I have kind of made it a stance on the podcast that I only need one trailer. All right. I learned from the Batman. I saw everything in the Batman. I don't need to see any more trailers after the first one. And I don't want to do that with the Flash. So
yes, and I have seen the international trailer. I've seen the normal US trailer. And I've seen a lot of the reactions coming from Cinemacon. I have not liked any of them because I know Juice is on my Twitter, and in case he is scrolling, I don't want him to see any of those reactions. I will say, though, I won't give any hints or anything because we were talking. I don't know if it was on mic or off mic how you don't like how people hype up a movie because it has
that was on mic.
expectation.
Yeah, that was on
Okay,
mic.
yeah. So what I will say is that there were some random people that were at CinemaCon that didn't think it was the greatest thing in the world, while other people thought it was. But the what was I getting at? The point that I saw was there was like a list of like 15 things people have been saying about the Flash. And you had to get all the way to like 13, 14, and 15 until you finally saw something that was somewhat negative, but not even that negative.
Yeah.
So it is looking to be a good movie. We will wait and see. We have our expectations already due to that first trailer.
Yeah.
And we've seen a whole lot of stuff like the leaked toys and everything else. So we know some things about it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to keep as much enclosed as we can so that way Juice can be ultimately surprised. I'm one of those individuals that's like, hey, go ahead and show me everything because I consume so much content on a day-to-day basis. I'll forget everything by next week. So
yeah, no, I have a really good memory. So like I remember the stupidest shit and like people are like, why do you remember that? Like I remember I have this with friends that I've met or like people I just had interactions with when I know I said something stupid or like, oh, you came off a little cocky there. Like I remember that shit. And like I feel like I could bring it up and be like, "Hey man, I just want to apologize that one time I did this," and be like, "What the fuck? You did that?" Like it just makes myself look even worse. Like, why the fuck would you even bring that up? Like I completely forgot. So it's just like, damn. But yeah, I remember a lot of shit, and I just definitely don't want to. If I'm interested in it, is what I should say. There's a lot of shit that I've forgotten that I do not give a fuck about. Like a lot of stuff that's happened in the MCU. Or stuff in Gotham, as I was corrected by Young in the last one. I said that the Gotham police chief was the electrocutioner when he was like the executioner, which is so close. Yeah. They both stupid characters, is what I'll say. So, I'll stand on that. But yeah, I just don't want to be spoiled, man. Like, because here's the thing, I'm already feeling the superhero fatigue. Like, I know it's there. And I think it's maybe why I'm jumping more into anime and stuff like that. Because I'm like, you know what? Anime's silly. And I don't have these, like, I don't know, standards for anime, I guess. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because, like, since I was young, anime has shown me, hey, we're awesome and also really stupid. So, like, you know?
I will say this about like the superhero fatigue and everything. We've seen lately in movies that it is taking a hit, especially in 2023. Ant-Man did not do great. Shazam did not do great. Right now, I think Mario is set to hit $1 billion either the day of we're recording or in the next few days.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a big shift here. We found out at CinemaCon that the Craven movie that's supposed to be done by Sony has changed their way of making the movie, and it's now going to be rated R. It's taking the approach of Joker. It's wanting to be different, quote unquote. But I don't think that's really going to help it.
Now it's Sony behind the wheel. No.
Well, it's just like I had told so many friends of mine that they're like the idea of being different for a Sony led film which only owns like Spider-Man, villains and Spider-Man properties.
Yeah.
you can't just assume, oh, we can pick whatever villain we want and make it a rated R movie and it, make gangbusters. Like, nobody knows who Craven is. Like, you can't make Craven a worldwide name when he's not a worldwide name to begin with. Joker was a worldwide name. People knew who Joker was.
Yeah.
So, like, the only way you could do the Joker treatment to a Spider-Man villain is if it's Kingpin or the Green Goblin or like, I think those are the only two, honestly.
I think you could do it with like Venom or Carnage, to be honest. Carnage is probably the closest Joker that Spider-Man has.
Okay. Yeah.
So, my thing is just Sony doesn't know how to make good films. Not at least when it comes to Spider-Man. And it sucks because they have the Batman of Marvel. So, like, it's sad that they're fucking up so much. But to be fair, our feelings aside for the Batman, DC hasn't been doing great with Batman much lately either.
Yeah.
So, I will say that's Sony just needs like new management or something. Like, you know what they should do? They should just poach somebody from Disney. They'd be like, look, man, we need somebody. Like, come over here and fucking do our shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whoever's under Feige, like, I would take that person. So
the rumors have been that Kevin Feige, of course, was approached by Zaslav. Hey, come over to DC and be head of my DC studios or whatever. He denied it because apparently he wants to be the one that's the puppet master of all of Disney's movies.
Yeah.
Being Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, and Disney. He wants to control all three. Which, I mean, more power to him. Big ambition. But I think he probably could do it. And then that would make the person underneath him the head of Marvel Studios. So
what does he do for fun?
I have no idea.
Like, I feel like I do a lot in my time. And like yesterday for the first time, I'm talking about in a few weeks, I just sat down and played video games for fun. Like, I started playing Resident Evil 4 again because I have like costumes and shit this time and I have all my guns. So I can just run through and blast people. And I'm just like, all right, cool.
Resident Evil 4, you mean 3?
No, 4, the remake. The one that just came out.
Oh, Resident Evil. Okay. For some reason, my head went to Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess no, that's still 2. I guess if you're counting, do you count Red Dead Revolver as a Red Dead Redemption?
Well, that's what a lot of people do. Say Revolver is like the it's still part of the trilogy. Yeah.
No, I mean, I would play that game. That game's fucking awesome. But no, I was just playing for fun. I was like, I'm just gonna fuck around and play some stuff, and I finally did that for the first time.
So did you put on like the mobster suit?
The mobster suit, yeah, the mobster suit and the mask on. And yeah, I'm just running around because the thing is I need to get a bunch of money because here's what I want to do on stream one day. I want to see if I could beat the game under 2 hours, but I need to get the rocket launcher to where you just blow up everybody.
Down everybody. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that and then see what happens because I think if I can learn the layout, I think I can do it under 2 hours. Because when I was younger, when we back in the day when you couldn't just get free games and you had to buy every game because you couldn't just download shit, like it was all physical copies. You had one game to play all the time. So I beat Resident Evil 2 like a bajillion times. And I did it once without saving and without dying. And I beat it in 2 hours and 1 minute. I was so pissed. I was trying to get under 2 hours. Because there was a rumor, because back in the day, you had to like read Game Informer to find out secret shit.
Yeah.
Apparently, you got a costume if you won under it. And it was like the Umbrella guys. I don't know if that's real. Maybe I just made that up. But I could have swore I read that in a magazine. And so I was just like, oh, I want to try to find that. And I never got it under 2 hours. So that sucks, but it is what it is. Anyways, so yeah, saying that as for the Flash, all that kind of stuff, I'm done with spoilers, man. I want to, the thing is we do cover this on a daily basis, so we can't go spoiler free. We're not general audience. We can't walk into a film and be like, wow, that was amazing. Like, we already saw that. We knew that was going to happen, And it also sucks too, when you have knowledge of comics, you already know like, oh, this is what they're building to. If they're doing it right, it's what they're building to.
Yeah.
And so you're already spoiling yourself as a comic viewer. And so I just kind of want to try to get back to like some kind of surprise. And if I just avoid trailers, I might see, sometimes they give away that one thing I didn't want to know.
Well, I will go ahead and share this just because it was shared from Muschietti, and the actor that I'm about to be talking about had also commented on it a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
saying that they weren't in the film. But Muschietti confirmed that there was a planned scene with Grant Gustin, but
Ah.
both schedules for Grant and for the production were not meshing well to get him into the movie. Because
Mm.
a couple weeks ago, Grant was like, "I'm not in the movie. This isn't a joke. This isn't me like trying to like
Swerve.
evade questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just not in it." And people didn't believe him. And then Andy Muschietti commented, I believe either yesterday or earlier today, saying that schedules just didn't meet up.
Yeah, I
So just
started
for anybody who had expectations to see
yeah.
Grant, unfortunately, we won't.
I had started seeing that interview and then I turned it off. I was like, "Oh, no, I don't need to know that." And then
Okay.
it is what it is. And then I've seen some other headlines, like I was on CBR because I still try to keep up with what's going on. And CBR is very terrible for clickbait. But I did see one that wasn't necessarily clickbait, but I thought was interesting, saying that Ezra Miller's pretty much in every scene in the movie. So that's a lot of Flash.
That is a lot of Flash,
Yeah.
considering there's also two Ezras in this movie.
Yeah.
I
So I
feel
guess
like
that
that.
that makes sense. I
Yeah.
also did see and the reason why, because you were mentioning like, oh, you haven't seen a lot of negative stuff, or there has been negative stuff. This is the one movie that I'm not gonna believe anything until I watch it. And the reason why is there are people that are gonna hate on this movie just because they hate Ezra Miller. And so I'm not gonna believe negative comments until I watch the movie.
Yeah, there has still been like especially the day of the reactions of Cinemacon and The
Yeah.
Flash came out, that a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, the mistakes of Ezra just disappear, but
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors is here, fighting for his career."
Yeah.
Uh there's a lot of those comparisons out there. I will believe some of the hype just because of some of the things that I've heard,
Hmm.
but I'm still waiting to see the performance. I think the hype can be there,
Yeah.
but it's the performance and everything else that I really want to see go down.
Yeah. I do want to point this out because I do see the headlines of like, oh, black man versus white man all the time. I will say, I don't know if Ezra's technically like, because Majors is his is all assault to women, right? And
Yes.
from what we know is a lot of women have come forward for that. So I don't think that was necessarily what was happening with Ezra. His was like, oh, he stole something or he did whatever, right? Assaulting women, I feel like people put on a huger pedestal. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of people coming out against Majors. So I think it's very different. Where Ezra, it's I think it's a big gray area. I don't agree with anything of it. And everything I've seen about Ezra, I think is really creepy and weird. But there's like, oh yeah, he kidnapped somebody. That person's 18. They get to make their own decisions. Like we had people
Yeah.
saying that about that. I'm like, I think it's still weird. There's other allegations that are out there. But Majors was apparently caught on video and certain things. We don't know
And we
yet.
we spoke a
So
lot in prior episodes
yeah.
talking about Ezra and his behavior and
Yeah.
how like one wrong thing can destroy him.
Mhm.
And WB knew that. And they said, "Hey, you're going to keep your nose clean or you're
Yeah.
never going to work again." And we haven't heard anything
Eh,
from them
we called it.
since then.
Yeah. I did see this report, which I might call bullshit. Maybe it's real. I don't have the police reports. I heard a lot of people saying that a lot of those incidents that came out were after filming was already done. So that's kind of what WB's angle is. And I'm like, oh, I thought that was reshoots. I thought there was some other stuff going on.
I believe there was still like reshoots and everything
Yeah.
else. I'm pretty sure.
So, but I hear that I think that's the card WB's playing. So I might call a little BS there. But
Yeah.
as we said on this podcast, Hollywood doesn't give a fuck. There are rumors and all this shit from child stars that there's a lot of predators in Hollywood and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
If you're going to make them $1 billion, they don't give a shit. So whether you like Ezra, don't like Ezra, this movie's coming out and it seems like this movie's going to get praise. I'm just waiting to see because I had a lot of people saying this bitch was going to flop. And I'm just going to be here with my fingers and be like, I told y'all. I fucking told y'all. If this movie does well, it's like it's not going to be a flop. This movie does flop. Superhero fatigue confirmed, I think.
It's going to be very interesting. Of course, next week, by the time people are listening to this, Guardians of the Galaxy comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have said, Guardians and the Flash are the true test to
Yeah.
see if superhero fatigue is a real thing.
Yeah.
I think Guardians is kind of a test, but not really, just because, like, yes, you have the greatness of like the mind of James Gunn,
Mm-hmm.
but you also have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So it's like
Yeah.
people still count that as one of the worst MCU movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, which, crazy enough, some people still call it one of the best MCU movies, which is absolutely
Yeah. I don't
horrific.
know. Weird.
But yeah,
I will say Guardians 3 feels different though. I don't know if you get that vibe. It feels
I
different.
think it very much feels different because it is from what James Gunn has said, and the notion that the trailers have been getting is like the final ride for
Mm-hmm.
these heroes.
Yeah.
So I think it has to feel different.
True, true. Speaking about Final Ride, other news that I guess I don't know if we're doing Cinemacon. I don't know if we have that sit down on our stuff. But the news that Aquaman 2 is a bromance movie?
Yeah, so I did put in the notes some of the words, as James Gunn says there won't be much of an
Okay.
announcement for DC Studios' new slate. We were gonna get into the CinemaCon stuff, and I have no problem jumping into it
Yeah,
right
let's
now
go
if you
for it.
want to. Yeah, so the word is just because of how the very beginning of WB's presentation, we heard Zaslav say, "Oh yeah, James and Peter are going to give a new update on their 10-year plan," and everybody's like, "What?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird to do this at CinemaCon, but we'll take it. Whatever." The whole entire presentation goes on, no word whatsoever. Um, and that is because CinemaCon is usually, it is a presentation for movies to come within the year or the next year.
Mm,
So the 10-year plan really had no place to be at CinemaCon.
yeah.
And that's why James Gunn was like, after the fact, he's like, yeah, no, that was never really the plan. It was just, pushing forward everything else. But yeah, the idea, James Wan actually put it out there when debuting a trailer
Mm,
for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, that this movie is going to be a bromance movie between Ocean Master and Aquaman.
yeah.
I don't like, if that's the case, I feel like the rumors of this movie not being so great
Yeah.
are probably true.
Yeah, because I was under the impression that this was going to be like a land versus ocean movie. You
Yeah.
know, I saw concept art of like a huge war.
Yeah.
So like I'm curious on what happened. Also, like I'm pretty sure James Wan loves what's his face that's playing Ocean Master. I think he's come out and said that. He loves
Yeah,
working with him. I
it's
forget his name. But
something Patrick or Patrick's something.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Let
forget his
me look it
name.
up.
But anyways, so maybe he wanted to give him more of a role in this one instead of being like, a side supporting character or whatever. But I think it's kind of too soon to have them be best bros. Like, you know what I mean?
Patrick Wilson. Yeah,
Patrick
yeah.
Wilson, yeah. I think Best Bros is like number 3, right? Like you need this as a buffer movie for them to like get to know each other, or, like talk to each other. Like he needs to be like in a jail cell, and then like maybe the land is attacking, and he's like, I need your expertise to like save Atlantis. You know what
Oh
I mean?
no. Do you know what you just made me think of?
What?
It could have been one of the better Thor movies, but you just made me think of Thor: The Dark World.
I never saw Dark World, so
So Dark World, at the end of Avengers,
mhm.
spoiler for almost I mean, over a 10-year-old movie now.
Yeah.
The first Avengers, the end, Loki is arrested and sent to Asgard and then put in prison on
Mhm.
Asgard. And in Thor 2, like there is that relationship between Thor and Loki.
Yeah.
Like Thor goes into the prison cell and like talks to him and everything else, gets to know them. And then at the end, Thor and Loki are fighting together. That
Mhm.
sounds a lot like your pitch here.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think I would have appreciated that a little bit more instead of just being like, hey, suit up, we're gonna go save, whatever, and then
Yeah.
it be like a buddy cop romance movie. Like
Yeah.
that's gonna be weird.
But you know what? Like, I think as comic book fans, we might think it's weird. Maybe the GA loves it though. Like, I mean, if Suicide Squad can make over $700 million, I can't sit here and say other shitty movies can't.
And it's funny that you bring that up because I put out there, well, I saw it from somebody else say that Aquaman and the Quest of the Lost Kingdom or
I know what
whatever
the
it
hell it's
was,
called.
yeah, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is, they said, one person said it has big Green Lantern vibes.
Oof.
2011 Green Lantern
Mhm.
vibes. And then somebody else said Aquaman 2 is worse than Suicide Squad. Not the Suicide Squad, but
Yeah.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
And
that's tough.
you said that you would have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
I will, of course, always give judgment after the fact as well. But hearing these things are not good.
Yeah.
Hearing everything that we had heard before, now getting kind of like the first reactions to actual
Mhm.
footage and kind of the feeling of the movie, the vibe of the movie, and that be everybody's vibe, like that's kind of worrisome.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. I totally read the Green Lantern thing as Green Arrow. I don't know why. I was on my phone when I read it, and that's why I said the CW show. And I was just like, huh?
Oh,
And I
okay,
was
okay.
just like, yeah, I don't know. That's weird. But also Stephen Amell's all like, oh yeah, never say never. I don't want you in I don't want you in the DCU, bro. Please stay away. I saw you in Ninja Turtles. I've seen what you get on the big screen. I don't need to see you anywhere else.
If
Stick to
people
the
want to
small
see him
screen.
again, he was in the last episode of The Flash that aired yesterday as the time we were recording this.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I will, I still, because Suicide Squad is bad. I recommend anybody go watch that movie again to see how bad it was. I have seen that movie multiple times to make sure. Like, all right, let me make sure this is that bad. And I have, and it's not good. Like, Harley is the best thing about that movie. She gets me through it, and that's it. I'm just like, all right, come on, Margot Robbie, you got to carry this whole fucking film. Other than that, it's fucking sucks. So Boomerang's kind of cool, but other than that, like, yeah, there's a reason why they
No
rebooted it.
love to Viola Davis.
She's pretty gangster too. But like the movie's so shit that it overshadows her for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's such a generic, like, we got to go save the world because there's this portal that opened up kind of movie, which every other big disaster movie is like that,
Yeah, like we talked about like early in the years of Batman News Weekly that the original idea that this was supposed to connect directly to Justice League, with the fact that
Yeah.
like it was supposed to be like a mother box, and like there was supposed to
Yeah.
be uh what are the demons from Apocalypse
Mhm.
coming to like take over the city or whatever, right? We
Yeah.
talked about
I
that.
think
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, and then there was also I forgot what wasn't the original thing that was like to kill the Joker too? Wasn't that part of it? Like to go
Yeah.
out there and do that? And I don't know. I mean, only people that have seen the original error cut would know that, right? So is what it is. What else we got coming out of Cinecon? So yeah, we have James Gunn saying that there's not going to be that much coming out of it. I don't really think there was much else, right?
Well, the idea of him saying that, he said his actual quote, let me actually bring up the article here. He said that there isn't going to be much coming out from his overall slate, and
Yeah.
he didn't mention anything about uh freaking whatchamacallit, Comic-Con. So
Okay.
yeah. So like, do we think he said other than an announcement here or there?
Yeah.
So I'm almost compelled to say that we don't get a full chapter 1 slate until next Comic-Con. Not this Comic-Con.
Possible. I don't really care anymore because I'm on the fence of if I'm even going to Comic-Con right now because I don't have a hotel room, which is the worst part of Comic-Con. Like you can get your tickets to
Damn.
Comic-Con and then
Yeah.
you're not guaranteed a hotel for Comic-Con. So I might be kind of like what I'm considering about doing with AnimeCon. I might be flying in for preview night and then fucking leaving.
Damn.
So, and then selling my badge to a friend or something like that because it's just kind of ridiculous. It also kind of sucks when you don't like my group has all split up into different smaller groups and everybody only like, fucking fights for themselves. And so it kind of fucking sucks. But this is when I'm like, man, I wish I still had friends in San Diego because I used to have friends in San Diego, but they've all moved to different spots. Anyways, so that freaking sucks. Getting some phone calls here. But yeah, so maybe they announced like a new movie or something at Comic-Con and that's it. Like a new project, and that's we're just gonna give you one thing, or because I don't think they'll have a trailer for anything. Maybe another Blue Beetle trailer.
I mean, if anything, I think that they could possibly have
Aquaman
like
trailer might be
an Aquaman trailer, yes, but I would say like maybe a tease at some of the animation for Creature Commandos.
possible.
Like very first steps into that.
Yeah. You could also, I mean, you could bring the whole cast out, right? James Gunn likes doing that kind of stuff, I think.
Yeah.
I think you reveal who Superman is at Comic-Con if they have that by then.
I think they oh, well, see, I would be very interested to see if they have a Superman by Comic-Con.
I mean,
what
they're
Comic-Con
filming January
is
1st or January 1st of 2024, right? Or whatever.
Yeah, and Comic-Con is in
July.
3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe because they are getting ramped up. They have already gotten a costume designer. They have, I believe, a producer and things like that. I'm pretty sure in the Discord I shared like a list of individuals they have attached to Superman already. But yeah, I would be very interested to see if a Superman is announced at Comic-Con.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's all we got for Cinemacon, right? The other news that came out was the Amazon Prime news. So this just came out yesterday. So I don't really know anything about it. I saw some art and it looks very Cartoon Network.
Yeah, like almost to the point of like if people are fans of these types of shows. There was an old Cartoon Network show called like Chowder. And the Fantastic World of Gumball or something like that.
There was also one about a little pirate boy. I forget what that one was called.
Yeah.
It had a whale that did a lot of shit. Yeah.
It has that type of animation, which I'll be completely honest with you. When Deadline first dropped this tweet with the picture, I didn't even look at the picture because it didn't make sense to me. I was just like, okay, let's go to the article. And then when I saw it, I was like, wait, that little kid is wearing like a cape and what looks like what could have been or is a utility belt.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is Merry Little Batman.
Yeah, I will say, he looks Mexican. So, like, if they want to make a Bat Kid Mexican, I'm down.
Well,
that haircut?
From what I remember, the Merry Little Batman is a story about Damian Wayne having a like Home Alone type movie.
Ah, interesting.
So the darker skin does make sense for Damian.
Yeah, it could be his Ra's al Ghul side.
Yeah. So this what the announcement really comes to is that Merry Little Batman actually is having a spin-off series coming off of it, as well as the Cape Crusader getting a 2-season order pickup. So we're already getting like freaking 20 hours worth of Batman stuff.
Yeah.
With these 2 seasons as well as the movie and then the series that's going on off of that. 20 may be in a little bit of exaggeration.
Yeah.
But we're getting a lot of Batman content already over at Amazon.
Yeah, they did Alfred so dirty in that photo, dude. Holy shit. He got like a fucking long wiener nose and shit. Like, you got a cone
It's
head.
so
Like,
awkward, man.
yeah, it's so weird. But dude, I'm looking at Damien. He looks like a little Mexican with that haircut, man. I know so many people with that stupid ass haircut. I'm like, dude. And like fucking Bruce looks like, I'm assuming that's Bruce, looks like a lumberjack. So
Took the words right out of my
yeah.
mouth, dude. Lumberjack was exactly what I thought of.
So that's really
That's why
weird.
that's why I didn't really think about it, because I was like, that's not Bruce, that's not Alfred, that's not Damien.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they put this picture in, like, with Batman news, but oh well. Finding out that this is the animation could hinder my idea of like how well I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
But we've seen in the past that a lot of these studios have taken up certain artistic styles because it's cheaper to animate.
Yeah, for sure.
Which has been very, very popular.
Yeah. I mean, Teen Titans Go is still funny to me. So
yeah.
And everybody hates the new animation style compared to the old legit style, but I'm like,
yeah,
Teen Titans Go is funny. I will say on top of that, one thing we didn't cover is James Gunn confirmed that he's going to be doing something with Static Shock. So
yeah,
that's kind of cool. Now somebody did ask, are you going to do more with Static Shock and Milestone? So will we be getting other characters as well? Because he just said yes, or of course.
Yeah, like the question didn't really have great grammar, because I believe is just probably somebody spoke a different language, probably tried to translate it, and then didn't really put the words in the correct order or whatnot. And Gunn just said yes. This is great, because we had heard there was news over at Fandom. I think the first Fandom and second Fandom, they gave a little bit of an update, but we had heard that Static Shock has been in production hell for years.
Yeah.
And it's finally getting its footing. I was afraid that with James jumping into DC Studios and starting everything new, that a lot of those projects probably were cut at the knees and probably died.
Yeah.
Hearing that Milestone is getting its time to shine over at DC Studios is a good thing. I think it's going to be very fun.
Yeah, and I think I'm curious to see, granted, we know James Gunn doesn't give a shit about like his philosophy is the best actor for the role, right? So he will do race swaps or whatever. I don't know if James Gunn has ever done gender swaps, like turned a female character into a male character or vice versa. It's usually female character or male character turned into a female character, mostly in Hollywood. But I'm curious if he's like, yo, we need our Black Panther, right? Like, what's our Black Panther going to be? I don't know if Static would be it. I would say Static's probably the Miles Morales kind of role if you're trying to compare to what movies have already come out. I would say that's what Static Shock's going to be. Obviously, I feel like our Spider-Man's going to be Blue Beetle, you know?
Yeah.
Or same thing, vice versa, whatever. So, I'm curious. And I hope he's just like, we're going to go ahead and hit all these beats. We have heard the rumors of Jessica Cruz being a part of Green Lanterns, but we don't know what the fuck's happening with that anymore. That would have been nice, get a little bit more representation in there. So it'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. I just saw the article on CBR of a lot of people, since they heard this news, are gunning for the kid from Stranger Things. I forget his name, but I think he's awesome. I'd be down.
I agree with you that it's a better choice than Jaden Smith.
Yeah. I said Jalen, right? Yeah, Jaden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaden Smith was like, because I think he went to WB with his dad, Will Smith, and they like pitched it for him to be Static like years ago. And WB was like, well, we have nothing else to do. Sure. If we ever make a movie, you'll be Static.
Yeah. I think he's outgrown it by now.
I think so.
And his whole family's just got kind of weirder. So I don't know. You think Will Smith ever comes back? I think James Gunn would probably bring him back. But
I don't know. Dude,
I think his schedule's just going to be too big.
I just saw this on Twitter. Karen Gillan says she would love to play Poison Ivy in James Gunn's DCU.
I still feel like they are going to cast a black actress for Poison Ivy, but I would be down with that.
100%.
Yeah, or Batgirl.
If
she would be a tall Batgirl, though.
She would be a tall Batgirl. But if they go the older Batman route,
Mhm.
I think that Karen would be a really cool Batgirl for sure.
Yeah. I always thought Emma Stone would have been a great Batgirl. But
Yeah.
uh yeah, I don't know. I think I read that too. I would be down with Karen Gillan. Anything they want to give Karen Gillan, I would be down with. But yeah, Poison Ivy would be fucking fantastic. I'm just curious on what they're gonna. You know what? Give me Harley as Margot Robbie. Give me Karen Gillan as Poison Ivy, and give me a Latina for Catwoman, and we're money. We're good. And that's what I'll take with. But I do think, because here's the thing. Unfortunately, we know Hollywood likes to cover up people of color skins in a lot of these superhero roles. And I feel like we'll go green screen Ivy. And I think somebody like Jeanette Monáe, I think is her name.
Yeah.
She's in a lot of popular movies recently. She's also like I think a musician as well. I fucking love her. I think she's awesome. I think her as Ivy. Are they all? Some people cast her as Batgirl at one point too. I would have been down with that.
Well, the I'm crossing my fingers for this. So way back in the day, Boss Logic made a mock-up of Ahsoka, the Star Wars character, as Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
And then years later, she was cast in the TV series of Mandalorian as Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Well, a few years ago, Boss Logic put Janelle Monáe as Joe Moline, the new Green Lantern.
With with
the really tall green like sunglasses type things.
Yeah,
and Janelle Monáe has already commented on it, like, that looks pretty dope. That would be awesome if I was a superhero. So I'm crossing my fingers.
That's a better shout. Actually, that's a better shout, because I have that book from Far Sector, and it looks like they just stole her image and put it on that book. Yeah. So that's actually a way better shout. And unfortunately, it seems like that Green Lantern has surpassed Jessica Cruz and the other one. What's his name? Simon Baz, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I wouldn't be surprised. They're like, yeah, let's go with that one. Which, why not bring all three of them in? Like, fuck it. Like, do we really need Hal and everybody else all the time? Like, you can do two sets. The thing about the Green Lanterns is there's so many. You could make just a movie for Hal and John, and then everybody else is in a show. Like, that's the one good thing you can do about that. And you know what you can also do is kill some of them, build them up, have people like them, and have them die.
Not only that, but like, there is so many teams within the DC universe. There could be a lantern on each and every team. Like, you could genuinely do that.
Yeah. Is there a supernatural lantern?
Technically, this is a technicality.
Yeah.
The first Green Lantern from the Justice Society is not a lantern from Oa. It's magic based. So you could say that that's technically supernatural.
What is his name? John? No, it's not John. Alan Scott.
Alan Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that one. He's canonically gay now, right? Because I remember buying it was Earth 2 when he got married to his partner, and then his partner dies instantly.
Yeah.
But I think they've canonically made it to where he is gay in the original Justice League now, which I think is awesome. Because that is one of the old school costumes I actually really like, because it's kind of simple, badass, and I love the old school lantern. Really enjoy that. So yeah, Alan Scott is fire. I believe I own that. That was like one of the first issues I went out and I was like, oh, that's going to be big or popular in the long run. And I bought that issue. I don't think it is. I don't think anybody cares. I also think Flash is on the cover. So like, it's not even them on the cover. I want to say it's like issue 2 or 3 of that run.
I think so. Yeah.
I think the Flash is on it. Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about that. I used to do that a lot at the comic shops. That's how they get you. Oh, here it is. Look at this thing. I'm like, God damn, I'm one of those dumb people that went out and did it. Although I still stick by Bat Dick. I know there's people out there that are still trying to get that book. I think it still holds a decent value. It's not $150 like it was.
No.
But misprint, or not misprint, but like they're just like, oh no, we can't do this no more. It's interesting holding on to a book like that, But then it's like the internet's a thing too. Like, I'm surprised they did an NFT Bat Dick. Like, why wasn't that an NFT, right? Should have done that. Anyways, moving on to some not necessarily comic news, but this literally dropped before the podcast. And we're going to talk about this because me and Clay are on different sides of this coin. So Tom King was quote tweeting, I guess, just some kind of Twitter that goes out of their way and shows like, oh yeah, in issue 55 of Batman, Nightwing got shot in the head or whatever, and then they talk about like where that story went. It's like one of those kind of Twitters. And Tom King quote tweeted this and said, "My pitch was that Dick would be recovering, learning to be himself again, while Tim took over the mantle of Nightwing. It would have been a story between two brothers bonding, caring for each other in the shadows of the bat. Dick would be back in 6 to 12 issues. They went another way." As in, they went down the shitty Rick Grayson with multiple Nightwings storyline. Very shitty storyline that I think we stopped reading the book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we did eventually stop reading the book. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Clay, you'd call bullshit.
I do call bullshit. This is your version of, well, if it didn't happen in comics, it's not canon, or it doesn't matter.
Main bat title, essentially.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you've also said this in like movies, how like directors will come out and be like, well, actually, what we had planned was this was happening and this has happened and this is actually what happened. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, well, that doesn't fucking matter because it didn't come out in the original book or the original movie. Mm-hmm. This is kind of the same idea for me. It's like so many years have passed since Rick Grayson has been hated by almost everybody. And so I feel like Tom King got his time to be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to have even more people like me because boom, compelling story idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay. When you compare it to the like, oh, if it didn't happen in the movie, it doesn't count. I can see that point 100%. I totally see that. Although I will say the difference here is when like the Russo brothers is my perfect example, right? The Russo brothers were like, oh yeah, everything went back to normal. Like nothing changed. Everything was perfect and everything is like, that's very different, right? Like you're saying you just want people to like you because you're like, oh yeah, they lived ever happily ever after. I'm like, you didn't show that in the fucking movie. Like, like, oh yeah, that's what the Russos were doing. They were filling in plot holes essentially.
Yeah.
King literally says this is a pitch. Like this is what I wanted to do back in the day, and DC was like, no. And we've seen a lot of writers come out with their post like stories. Now, could they be doing that to save face? Yeah, it's always an option. But Tom King has been very adamant about throwing pitches out before that have been denied by DC. Like originally, with what he wanted to do with Nightwing was have a Nightwing Barbara story a long time ago with him and Tim Seeley. Like we were gonna do the love story of Batman and Barbara, which now it seems like Tom Taylor's doing that and not like well. So like it's just like I think King's come out and done that a lot, in my opinion. This sounds a billion times better than what we got, whether it's fake or not.
It does sound better. But my thing was in the Discord, I even said Tim was nowhere in his Batman story. Like he was nowhere to be seen. Of course, there was a lot of different things going on at the time. Of course, you had the Oz story in Superman that ended up finding out that it was actually Jor-El, but Jor-El was the one who kidnapped Doomsday. It kidnapped Tim and all of these other things. But like through the entire run of Batman, and you eventually said, well, this would have not had been in the Batman run. It would have been in the Nightwing run. Well, King wasn't writing Nightwing,
Yeah, but we also do know that whoever writes Batman controls the family. So, and King has said that about Scott Snyder. They were basically handcuffed to what they could do with Nightwing because Scott Snyder was like, no, we're doing this and we're doing that. They had to like vote around that. Like King has talked about that before.
I find that hard. Well, I don't find that hard to believe. I find that hard to comprehend by saying, hey, I got a pitch for you. Now you over there have to write it. Like
Tynion does it all the time. I mean, one of our favorite stories is somebody with a pitch. Tynion came up with the story for vampires and Rosenberg wrote it.
Yes, Rosenberg wrote the dialogue for all of that. Yeah, and the breakdowns. But I don't know. It because just sounds
think you
weird.
Can come up with that idea. Like if King just gave me that, I feel like I could write the story for that.
I think a lot of people could.
Yeah,
I
I think
really
that's what
dig
would
the
have
story.
happened.
Like the idea of Tim Drake donning the Nightwing costume
Mhm.
and quite possibly giving it his own spin,
Yeah.
I think would have been really fun.
Would have
Like,
been
don't get
better
me
than
wrong,
Drake.
like anything would have been better than Drake. Um, don't get me wrong, I like the pitch. I like the idea.
Mhm.
I just I'm calling BS on the idea of him like, oh, by the way, this was actually was going to happen. Everybody hate these people, not me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what's going on right now. And I'm just like, I like you, Tom King, but I think you're trying too hard
You think he
to.
cares at this point though? He knows everybody hates him. Like, I don't think he's trying to save face. Because here's the reason why, like, I can see that with like a Zdarsky right now. I could
Mhm.
see Zdarsky doing that because, like, I 100% believe in the future, Zdarsky is going to come out and say, oh, yeah, DC wanted me to do all of these things, so I just did what they told me. I guarantee that's going to, we're seeing it with Tynan.
Yeah.
Tynan's coming out and being like, oh, yeah, DC wanted me to do this, so I just did it. And here's the thing, too. I can believe DC fucked up that story 100% because we've seen it before. We've seen what DC wants to do. I
Yeah.
don't know if Didio was here around this time or if he was already gone. I don't remember the
Uh
timelines.
Didio would have been still here, but it was this controversy that kind of pushed him out the door.
Yeah. So, because Didio was cool with killing kids. So, like, he was like, you want to kill kids? Go for it.
Well, the big thing was that he wasn't cool with killing. Like, he was cool with killing Dick Grayson. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to kill Dick Grayson. There's like this weird conspiracy theory that um that Didio hated the original Titans line.
Huh.
So
Weird.
Wally, Nightwing,
Mm-hmm.
Cyborg, there's this weird conspiracy theory that he hated all these characters, and like the less and less people wrote them, he liked that. And so
Yeah.
the fact that like there was a possibility of Nightwing dying, he was like, yeah, sure, like write it. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see it happen. Um
I
but
will say a lot of people don't like Didio, but I haven't really liked stories recently. And so,
it's really funny because there has really been a call for Didio to come back.
yeah.
Um, but from my knowledge, Didio's a ghost. Like, he just makes con appearances now. I don't
Yeah.
know what he's doing. And I don't know if he's like 100% into the comic scene anymore. Like,
Yeah.
he probably has a pretty good pension and was just like, okay, I'm set. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
relax now and
Yeah.
retire.
I mean, he's getting up there in age, right? And he's probably seen like all the greats die right now too. And he's like, man, I just want to live my life. Like,
Yeah.
and I can see I'm assuming comics has to be stressful because it's not a huge money maker. Like it makes money, but it's like it makes money if they adapt it to films, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's unfortunately like it's hard to get a lot of people to love the current stuff right now. But I am gonna base this also off of we've seen a lot of this before. We've seen people do their pitches. We've seen people come out and say, like, oh, yeah, the story should have been like this. So I'm not going to call BS. And that isn't just being me, a Homer Tom King person. But like, that sounds like a Tom King story. You know what I mean? That seems like an original plan that he wanted to do. And it just got DC fucking farted on it. Like, and with what DC's putting out now, that does not surprise me. And I don't know whose decision that is. Like, I don't know if it's an editor's decision or if it's like Jim Lee or whoever that is, fire that person because
And
they don't know comics.
it's really hard to really comprehend this because of course it was so long ago.
Yeah.
Um but from his pitch he says that Dick would have been back in 6 to 12 issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's a year.
during that time though,
Mm-hmm.
it would be half of that because Nightwing was biweekly.
Oh, was it? Could have went to
Yes.
monthly at that point.
And it did. Rick Grayson's story did end up eventually hitting monthly. Sales weren't all that great, so they're like, "Hey, if we extend it, maybe it'll look
Mm-hmm.
better." Uh, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that at the beginning of Rebirth, Nightwing was bi-weekly. It was one of their head titles. It was selling
Yeah.
very, very well. And then as it gotten like the dramatic scene with him getting shot, it started to dwindle in in sales. So
Yeah.
I think that's why it changed to monthly, just to
They were
kind of
just
kill off
shit.
the book.
Yeah.
It was still holding on because I think there's just a lot of people who love Nightwing and were just
Yeah.
buying it just to buy it.
Well, it was
But
Jurgens writing it too, right? So we got to remember too, King wasn't the only pitch that got denied because the original writer said we were going to go a different way too.
yes, Ben Percy also had
and he jumped off the book at that point.
He jumped off the book. There was a weird like cybernetic story going on like immediately before, and then the shot happened and it like completely shattered any continuity with the Nightwing book. It just like it took it downhill. And I kind of liked Ben Percy's writing. I think he's doing a lot of better stuff over at Marvel right now. He was just in a weird spot with DC at the time.
Yeah. I would be curious on first of all, I'm also surprised that like King, because I'm just so curious about the like how the NDAs work right there, right? Like, is that not an NDA thing? Like pitches not being like secret? You know what I mean?
That would
Because
be interesting to hear him out on.
I don't know if I'll ever like be in an area to meet Tom King again anytime soon. He'll probably be at Comic-Con, but I mean, I don't even know if I'll be at Comic-Con. I just want to know what happened with Batman. Like, cause like I feel like nobody's really asked him like flat out. You know what I mean? I know he's kind of said like, oh yeah, I wanted to work on movies, and they just kind of try to accommodate me. I'm like, was that really the case, Tom? Did they not try to push you out? Because it seems like they've definitely tried to retcon a lot of your shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so like, I wish somebody would just flat out be like, hey, you know, I think you know what we should do. We have an episode 200 coming up in a long time. Tom King was the reason I started this podcast originally. We should just shoot him like a tweet. Like, hey, we got an episode 200 coming up. You're the reason we started this podcast.
We do have an in at DC. Maybe they can throw in a, hey, if y'all need anything, like maybe I can reach out to see if they'll let us interview. That would be something pretty interesting.
We got to figure out the date because I think it's in July. That would be Comic-Con time, if I'm not mistaken, because this is 89. So 11 weeks from now, which would be around July-ish because we still got May, June. Yeah, right in the middle of Comic-Con time. I'm willing to record that early too, if we need to, because it'll just be episode 200, an interview episode. I think we should reach out with our connections, see if we could possibly get it. Even if we got to record it like 2 weeks in advance or something.
I will say it looks like I'm the only one that's dying on this hill for Tom King, though, because I put the tweet out in my comic book group chat that I have with some friends, and kind of the same idea you had. One of my friends said, I mean, why would he lie? I mean, I know why he would, but I haven't seen him just randomly respond and just spout BS. He didn't have to respond at all. And then another friend said, hot take, but I actually like this storyline, not the Rick Grayson storyline in Nightwing. That was a bit of a mess, but Nightwing getting shot, I'm sure had King been able to write his full run like he wanted, this would have woven well with the story.
Yeah. I feel like it's another one of those things where whoever's behind the scenes, you should have been talking to your writers in advance. This is why I think people should plan out their stories in advance, because it'd be like, yo, we're going to shoot Nightwing around issue 55, you know, say that and be like, oh shit. And be like, all right, well, we got to let the other writer know that his story needs to be done at 55 or whatever his is going to be, whatever. Like if his stops at 23, that's where it does. Cause then you could have been like, Nightwing takes a break, right? Like the issue takes a break. And then maybe Tom King already has that story written and he writes 12 issues or whatever. And then maybe you give that time for maybe even if the previous writer wants to stay on to write the next fucking 50 issues or some shit like that. But Tom King's going to come in here and drop those 6 or 12 and just go about that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I do think that pitch would have been awesome. It would have given, Tim Drake a time to shine too, which would have been interesting. You think he would have worn the red outfit or you think he would have got like a whole new suit?
I think,
or does he need to stay blue because he's got to be Nightwing?
I think I'm going to throw a hot take. He pulls out the old disco suit.
Oh, God. Terrible.
No, but I think that King likes the classics. So I think he would have implemented something to give like homage to Nightwing in that way. I honestly think Nightwing, Blue, we've always talked about the idea of like Blue Jay, Bluebird, all of this
Yeah.
stuff. Tim was always Red Robin. I think he would have implemented something with wings.
Tim Drake technically everybody canonically was not even alive during disco. So don't think it really works for the younger ones anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I think okay, how would you feel about this, Clay, right? We live in a world with comics where we retcon everything. We've had people come in here and be like, everything's canon now. What if we had like a council? Like, you put in Jeff Johns, Tom King, Scott Snyder. You have all these people come in here. Maybe not everybody, because then you'll butt heads. But everybody picks what are the iconic things that need to stick around in all of these characters, and we retcon stories in between that connect things. So like you just get rid of the Rick Grayson shit and you write that story. You come in and just placeholder. This is what happened.
I think it gets a little sticky.
Yeah.
And the reason why is in between all of the mess, there's still those random things that people love.
Mm-hmm.
And without the context of the mess, it wouldn't make sense sometimes, I feel like.
Multiverse. it's that or Dr. Manhattan, right? Those are the ones.
It really is
things. I think if you want to do an event, right? Because here's the thing, we have said this personally. We love when people go back and add just little things to iconic stories.
Yeah.
Not
100%.
trying to change them. We'll be talking about somebody trying to change some shit next fucking week. But not trying to change the heart of that story, but just like, hey, this character was there. And you're just like, oh shit, it happened on the other part of the city during the same event. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. We think that's awesome. The Boy, which is the best fucking story we've read in a really long time, hit every major event, which was nuts.
Yeah.
And like, it was really awesome. So what if we were to do like some kind of like multiverse event where somebody sees just different timelines that happen? Obviously, you'd probably involve Wally, you'd involve Barry or somebody like that. And you just have a bunch of writers be like, hey, there was this major event at one point in DC history. This is an alternate timeline. And then we do like a year-long series. Like everybody does 6 to 12 issues of a story. You have Tom King write that story. You have Scott Snyder write a story if, something else happened. You have Tynan write a story if whatever else happened. How would you feel about that?
I think I would be okay with it because, I mean, one thing that we also have to remember is like, well, not remember, but a lot of people still give a lot of respect to Tom King. I'm looking at the comments right now. Tom Taylor, man, I really want to read this book. Bruno Redondo, the artist for the Nightwing right now. Wow, that would be a really interesting take. I'd love to read it. People are interested in these types of stories.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like it's just a little hard to... I think, honestly, a lot of readers of Nightwing, headcanon, Rick Grayson, never existing.
Yeah.
The problem is, Tom Taylor has already kind of give validity to that story with the Imp story.
Yeah.
He brought Rick Grayson back for just a page, or technically 2, but he brought Grayson back. So I don't know if you can just say, hey, that never happened.
But Wally just kind of retconned a whole bunch of shit too, though. So maybe it didn't happen anymore. So like it's one of those speeders are assholes, man. Fucking constantly just changing shit. You know what I want to read? Just because it just literally popped into my head. I want a random stupid one-shot story of Wally. How old is Wally? He's a teenager still, right? Or is he like early 20s now?
Wally is an adult now.
I want he has a wife, teenage Wally. I want teenage Wally changing, like going to high school, trying to ask his crush out and changing timelines every time to see where he made mistakes and just trying to get her to like him. I just want a stupid story like that. Like he's just changing times. Yeah, trying to get the girl. It's a one shot and he's just he's like, I fucked up. I got to go back in time. And then he's like, all right, I got to learn from this time. Last time I did this. And he just keeps trying different shit and he keeps fucking up every time. and then it just causes some calamity, which would be nuts. I want stupid stories every once in a while, like an anime filler, you know?
Yeah.
Anime
Yeah.
filler episodes are just dumb, and I kind of want something. I want stuff I got from comics. But yeah, I think you could do a alternate timelines event, and you just get your best writers to write 6 to 12 issues of a crazy event. Tom King does the Nightwing shot. You know what you could do to make it even better? Alternate events from their own storylines. So Tom King, hey, you stick to what you did in yours. Scott Snyder, you did whatever. You stick to that. Tinian, you stick to yours. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is a double-edged sword because I know that you've said that you've hated this in other instances, but I think it's like valid for everybody when it comes to things that everybody like hates altogether.
Yeah.
But if they targeted the storyline of Rick Grayson and as a whole, DC has decided, yeah, this is universally hated. Nobody really loved this story. I apologize for everybody who was attached to this story while they were writing Rick Grayson, but we are canonically retconning it. Like you've said in the past, because recently you just acknowledged it, that people are trying to retcon a lot of the stuff, that Tom King has done.
Yeah.
Heroes in Crisis and all of that. But what if they did it with that?
If they retcon Heroes in Crisis?
No, not Heroes in Crisis, but Rick Grayson. Because I don't think I'm trying to put you in a corner, but not like trying to be mean about it.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like people like hate Rick Grayson. They don't really go back to that story. Let's go ahead and erase it. I don't think you can agree with that without kind of being a hypocrite with what people are doing with Tom King and Heroes in Crisis stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not scared of the word hypocrite like a lot of people are. Everybody's like, oh my God, I'm actually, I don't give a fuck. I think everybody in their life is a hypocrite. Everybody's a hypocrite because you're going to change your whole perspective over time. If you're the same motherfucker you were when you were in high school, oh my God, I'm scared of you. Like, holy shit. Everybody's a hypocrite, and you should be. It's not a bad word. Everybody thinks it's like a fucking dirty ass word just because you change your mind. That's what it is. Or it's you going back on something you've said before. Here's the thing. I've come to learn in life, everything's situational based. I have openly admitted that I'm very biased when it comes to Tom King. My thing is, I think Heroes in Crisis is a good story. A lot of people don't agree with that. And I'm just like, oh, I don't like that they're retconning it. But I've come to terms as a comic fan, my favorite things are going to get retconned. Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne are getting fucking destroyed right now. And they're about to make Selena Kyle a fucking teenage e-girl. Is what George
from the looks,
writing.
The looks of it,
It looks like she's gonna be. It looks like Miracle Molly threw up on fucking Selena Kyle, and they just morphed those. They fucking fusioned. It's what they did, and so I absolutely don't. Because here's the thing. I'm totally cool with somebody trying to say that, but I've openly said I'm retconning pretty much everything that's happened after King's Run because I hate it. I don't like anything that's come out. There might be, I want to rewrite Tynan's characters because I think he had some good characters and I want to rewrite them. I want to give them the glory they should have had. You know what I mean? And maybe DC fucked with Tynan's original vision like they fucked with this Tim Drake thing, right? So I think certain stories you shouldn't fuck with, in my opinion. But I can sit here and say, not everybody's going to like what I like, right? Everybody thinks Tom King's pretty divisive.
Yeah.
But I think, because here's the thing. Technicality, not technicality. It gets into this weird broad spectrum of what do we consider good? Is it audience perception? Is it sales? I don't like going off sales because I think sales is bullshit. Because we know Batman's going to sell no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Did Heroes in Crisis have good sales? It was pretty popular at the time, I remember. Because there was multiple covers and shit. Like
that's the hard part because
whenever
a event happens, they usually get really good artists on those covers. They had the events covers that they had,
Yeah.
the
The
family
files.
event,
Yeah.
the
I bought the
files.
file
Yeah,
covers. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, those are cool. So yeah, again, it gets into like what we judge. But so here's the thing, because I understand where you're trying to go with this, but I think the way I'm pitching it, it's not necessarily what they're doing to Tom King, right? Because what they're doing to Tom King is it's not an event. They just straight up retconned Heroes in Crisis. Like they're like, oh yeah, all those characters that died that nobody gives a fuck about. Just want to throw that out there. The only one that people really cared about was Wally, from my understanding. I feel like a lot of the general audience doesn't know who was that fucking blue aqua character. Who cares about that character? Never seen that character in my life. It's
yeah.
like a fish man.
A lot of the like C, D, F tier
Yeah.
characters
The
are the ones
old, like
that died.
that old Kronk guy or whatever his name was, the caveman.
Yeah,
I've never seen that guy in my life. Like, King killed a lot of characters nobody gave a shit about. You know what I mean? I feel like. I think Wally was just the biggest one. And Ivy came back. She came back.
yeah,
She was reborn. We know Ivy doesn't die. She just gets reborn again. Until the earth is scorched, Ivy will always be reborn. So, like, I never understood that. People could say they don't like what they did with Booster Gold. That's totally fine. Either way, the way I'm pitching this story is you don't necessarily retcon anything. You're just showing an alternate universe. Now, granted, then what King has said comes into play where, like, oh, the audience makes canon. You know what I mean? So if people want to say, oh, that's canon now, then they'll go with that. And they'll just mend it in there. Because remember, Killing Joke, never canon until it was. You know? So I think that's how it is. Like, I have come to terms that I think everything Tom King has written is going to be retconned. I've come to terms with that. So, like, I don't like it because I enjoy Tom King, but I understand it. It's just what's going to happen. Until somebody comes in and fucking flops their big ass dick on the table and they're like, hey, we're restarting DC and we're fucking going the anime route and everything from day one to now is what's going to happen. And that's it. I don't think that's ever going to happen with comics, but we just have to live in a retcon world, right?
yeah.
So that's why I have no problem here saying that if I do become the Batman writer and I get on there, I'm wiping out half of the shit we've been reading since the start of this podcast. And people are going to come back to this podcast eventually and they'll be like, damn, you talked a lot of shit about your fellow writers. I'll be like, yeah, because I was a fan that was pissed. And you know what? And I'm not going to be mad. Like, because again, I think comics needs a little drama sometimes. Be like, oh shit, what's going on with this drama over here? These writers don't like each other. Like, no, dude, I have a lot of respect for these writers. I just think when they wrote Batman, it sucked. That's all I'm saying. You know, I don't think that's a bad thing to say. You know, it's criticism. Yeah. It's criticism. And we've said it a million times. We play it up for the podcast. It's entertainment. We guys want you to be enjoying listening. So we let the fan out. The claws come out. But I respect Zdarsky as a writer. I think Daredevil's awesome. I just don't know what's happening with this Batman. And maybe Batman has a lot of puppet masters behind the scenes. We've heard rumors that you can't do this. Batman can't get married. Batman can't do this. Batman can't be happy. All of that shit.
Batman can't go down on Catwoman.
Yeah.
You know?
All of these things. Maybe that's what makes a lot of the recent Batman really shitty. That could be the thing. I wish all these writers would come out and say that. But it's all behind close doors.
It's wild that like when the protection of an IP completely destroys a character. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to say that Batman is completely destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's so many restraints, it sounds like, that like you can't make a good story out of it. Now, again, there's an idea of like, oh, if you're a creative writer, you can make anything work.
Yeah.
But if they knock every single thing that you try to pitch, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why my life plan to be the Batman writer is to make other things popular first. That way, when I come in, I'm be like, this is a story I'm doing. And if you don't like it, we're not doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, because I think when you have that, because like, I would have been very curious because I know he's kind of going through things, or I don't know if he's still at Marvel or whatever. I would have been interested if Donny Cates jumped ship at the height of his popularity and they would have just let him do whatever he wanted. You know what I mean? Because
from what I know, Donny Cates has like fallen off the face of the earth, man.
Yeah. I think he's been COVID probably didn't help, but I think he's not the best mentally, it seems like, because I've seen some tweets and shit from him back in the day. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, man, I think you have to, if you can show DC that you move books, I think you probably get a lot more leeway, right? And I think King had that up until issue 50, right? because it was over 100,000 each thing. I don't think they cared. And then it's like, oh, hey, you're not dropping 100,000 every time you drop a book now, so we're gonna kind of go ahead and push you off and bring in this other guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Something I would like to ask. But before we move on to viewer questions, Raphael just commented this, Clay, in this whole Nightwing discussion. I remember this. This is in regards to what Tom King said. I remember this. He mentioned it in an interview a couple of years ago, I think, when Strange Adventures was the last 6 issues. So not something he just farted out.
All right.
Interesting. And Raphael is also a fellow King person. I feel like he probably has more knowledge about King than I do. So I believe him when he says that it was in an interview a long time ago. And I will say, if you have listened to a lot of King stuff, he does kind of repeat himself on like, oh yeah, we wanted to do this, or I wanted to do that, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So I think there is some consistencies there. Anyways, that's I think that's it. Oh, also, Clay, before we move on, since you are the resident Superman fan here, thoughts on James Gunn's comments about Superman Legacy not being a comedy? Because everything he does is a comedy.
I knew that it wasn't going to be a comedy. I know that Gunn is able to do more than just comedy. It's been shown in parts of his other films. Yeah, we see the funny moments in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailers, but we also see some of the sad shit that's about to come, right? We very much believe that a lot of these characters are dying. It's going to be a very serious time. And I think that with how he has spoken about Superman and how it relates to him and his personal life and his father and all of these other things, I genuinely believe that Superman is in good hands right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to read that. Will you also watch every trailer for that when it comes out? Say the first trailer is as good as the Flash trailer.
Probably.
Okay.
I think that.
Do you genuinely just forget everything you watch? Like, is that legit, or is that an over exaggeration?
It might be a little bit of an over exaggeration, but I consume so much content on a weekly basis. I have 3 podcast people.
Yeah.
I watch shows for every single one of them. I think we have stopped really watching stuff because we were like, okay, it doesn't really matter. New DCU, we're gonna get shows later.
Yeah.
So we'll watch those when all of that ramps up on Max.
Still haven't finished Harley Quinn.
Neither have I.
I have a TV in my room now. I watch anime every night now. I will say that.
Nice.
I have been finishing Doctor Who because I've had a couple episodes left for. You still haven't finished What's Her Name season yet, have you?
Foster's no.
Yeah, really good, man. The Flux series and then the final episode where she changes is actually really good. I'm on the final episode right now, but because they have I think the last episode is a time loop episode, which is really cool with Daleks. I'm watching it. It's pretty cool. But anyways, fucking I watch anime every night now just because I have a TV while I lay in bed, and I'll just watch like 2 episodes. Like I finished Spy Family, which for anybody that's like, oh man, should I read the manga or watch the Spy Family? Spy Family feels like it's almost like 1-to-1 to the book, which
it's
is
so
nuts.
good.
So you could, I don't even think you need to read the manga necessarily, although the manga has extra bonus stories that you won't get in the show. But I'm also finishing Darling in the Franxx right now. I never finished that show. I started it. And so I'm like halfway through that. So I watch about like 2 episodes a night now. But yeah, Harley Quinn, every time I go to HBO Max, it's right there next to Doctor Who. It's like, finish me. Like, I'm literally like right here. I'm just like, I'm finishing Doctor Who right now, Harley. I'm sorry. You got to wait. So yeah, I haven't finished it. But yeah, I'm just curious because like, you also read a shitload of manga each week, it seems like.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. Like, I'm sitting here reading manga and stuff, but like, I have cut back on video games. Like, I have not played video games as much as I was playing the last few weeks.
Yeah, so. I've cut back a lot too. I quickly lose interest in a video game if there's like no compelling story.
You done with Harry Potter?
Well, Hogwarts Legacy, it was so massive, and the story just kind of fell flat. Like it started to feel flat, and so I was like, I won't play it. And then I'm on the go all the time with having a kid now.
Yeah.
So like me just playing Marvel Snap every once in a while is what's keeping me going as far as video games. The day of we're recording this, Jedi Survivor is coming out. I'm probably staying up, and I'm gonna probably record a whole bunch of that, and maybe get some footage for next week's podcast, so
Yeah.
people can watch that while they listen.
Yeah, the next few podcasts should be all Resident Evil for a while because I have like
Nice.
15 hours. So,
God damn.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna be playing Jedi Survivor, and I've heard really good things about that, and I heard the
Yeah.
game is massive. It went from like a 16-hour game from the first one to
Mhm.
now being like a 30-hour game. So
Yeah. It's funny because I haven't finished Horizon still. I want to play that, but I was editing for my job, and we do gameplay backgrounds, kind of we do for the podcast. It's where I got the idea from. And they were I don't talk to my boss about everything. I don't know where he gets all the gameplay stuff from. I think he's probably hired somebody to do it, like, just get us a bunch of stuff. And the person was playing Prototype, and I'm like, I missed that game. For anybody that doesn't remember Prototype, it was like this weird, basically Venom, essentially. Like your character is Venom, and he can transform into people. He can, like, my favorite thing in any game is throwing and kicking people off buildings.
yeah,
It is my favorite thing to do. It's why I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey so much. I just love doing it. It's part of kicking everybody off mountains. But freaking in Prototype, you could grab somebody. You could grab like a tank or something and run up a building, jump super high, and just chunk it across the map.
yeah,
Fucking
it was
amazing.
so good.
So I was seeing somebody play that, and I forgot I bought the remastered edition when it was on PS4, when it was part 1 and part 2, and so I downloaded it to my PS5 because I'm like, I want to play that on stream. I just want to fuck around and play it.
I think I've never played part 2. I think I still
never
have part
either.
1.
It was a new character, so
Yeah.
like I don't know the story or anything, but yeah. So I was like, man, I want to play that again. But I have like Horizon sitting there, and I have like I think I downloaded the second Final Fantasy interlude or whatever that is. Didn't play that yet. I need to play that on stream. And it's just like, man, I need to up my streams because holy crap. It took me 4 weeks to beat Resident Evil because I was playing it once a week. So I need to do that. But anyways, so that is what we got going on there. It's just kind of hard to keep up with a lot of things. But we're moving on to viewer questions. Let's do the Discord ones first. We got Arwitz. Who is the most underrated Batman villain? Underrated. So obviously it can't be any of the mains, any of the Aiden Lears, because those are properly rated. Some would maybe even say overrated. My heart wants to say Clayface, but I think recently Clayface is properly rated.
Yeah,
so
I think he's gotten a lot of love recently, and I think he's climbing up the ladder there.
Yeah, still wouldn't say he's A tier though. I would not say that yet. I think he's a solid B right now. If he gets a movie, then I'll give him A tier. But underrated, because here's the thing. There's a lot of characters that have just been done badly that I still don't think are underrated. Like Talia's not underrated in my opinion. Raish, I think the recent story with Raish was good. I think he's properly rated. I mean, underrated though, man. I'm trying to think of if Tom King had just not made Time to Kill, I would still say Clock King's pretty underrated in my opinion, even with the recent story of Killing Time.
I am gonna say I'm a little hesitant to say this because I feel like there hasn't been much on them. So, there's not a lot to go on, but there's still a lot of potential for them. So that's why I'm going to say they're underrated because I feel like they had a really strong opening, but fell flat with nobody else really doing anything with them. I'm going to say the Arkham Knight.
Ooh. So I would agree. But the Arkham Knight was in Task Force Z. So people have done things with them. It's just been bad.
Rosenberg. Why?
Yeah. And also, weren't they a part of that Arkham story?
They were a part of a lot of the stuff dealing with like
the tower.
The
future stuff too.
Wait, were they
that whole era was just so all over the place.
Yeah,
because she like Two-Face and everybody's on part of her team now. Like they're like, yeah,
Well, like I'm pretty sure at one point there was like a time jump within the future state stuff, and
yeah,
like she had died or she was missing, and so that's why Clayface was like the head of everything.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
don't
but they
fucking
were still
remember.
using her philosophy to like
Yeah.
take over Gotham for good.
Pretty sure she's in Task Force Z. I could be wrong. Anybody actually read that story? Let us know. Um, but yeah, I'd agree with Arkham. That was actually a really good character. I
Yeah,
have the second ever drawing sketch of it, by the way. I don't know
well,
where it's at, but
I
I have
just
it.
think that oh shoot, who was the original writer? Peter.
Tomasi.
Yeah,
It was
Tomasi.
Tomasi and Brandon something. I forget the
Uh
artist name. The actual
oh
person that
that
created it.
yes.
Brandon something something something. I think it's Brandon. I could be wrong. Just type in Arkham Knight creators. That would be like Pete Tomasi and somebody else. Yeah, Arkham Knight was really good. I liked that the story behind Arkham Knight was that she hated Batman because she thought Batman killed her mother. I thought that was really like a solid
Yeah.
story. Yeah, they didn't do shit with her. But I mean, that's not the first person they. I mean, look at what they tried to do with Gotham Girl, right? Gotham Girl didn't do shit. Could
Oh,
have been
that's
something
true.
great.
Yeah.
So, but she's not a villain. Um, you know what? To be honest, I think you could pick any of fucking Tynan's villains. All underrated probably because he didn't do
Yeah.
great with them. The designer very underrated in my opinion. Could have done way more with that. But yeah, I don't know. Crazy stuff. Um, yeah, so I would go Clock King though for my main one. Next up we got John. Okay, which makes more sense? A Batman that believes our scars are what makes us ourselves, or a Batman that believes we should not let our past define us? Or am I a dumbass and they're both the same?
Well, they aren't the same
Mm-hmm.
because they contradict each other. They're saying that okay, uh our scars are what make us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Saying our past does define us.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one is saying that the past does not, that it shouldn't define us.
Yeah.
Um this it's hard to say because I think that Batman could be both
Yeah.
in very good ways. Of course, the scars that do define them is talking about his past, talking about the death of his parents. Like that
Mm-hmm.
is his legacy moving forward with the protection of Gotham.
Yeah.
Not letting the past define him. We've seen that there has been some really good storytelling where like he goes to Crime Alley and he's telling his parents like, hey, like this this thing that I've become has
Mm-hmm.
been a lot greater than just you two now.
Yeah.
Like I have to protect that. I have to protect Gotham and everything else for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Batman has evolved from both of these states of mind, really.
Yeah.
Um and I think that both of them would work with Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Batman is not somebody that you put in a box. I think he takes everything situationally, right? We've seen Batman do things that he regrets later, that he thinks he needs to handle differently. I mean, you can go look at some of the animated series stuff, and I mean, it was very famous with Nightwing, right? Nightwing didn't, or Robin at the time, didn't like how he handled some villains. He was a little too aggressive, a little too rough. And what we end up finding out at the end of that episode, when he's already Nightwing and he's older, is that same villain that he was rough with, like in front of his family or whatever. He gave him a job as a security guard at Wayne Enterprises. You know,
Yeah.
so Batman, it doesn't let what he's done in the past define him, but he uses it. He uses maybe that scar to make himself better. So like, yeah, I don't know. I think Batman understands that you have to forgive and forget at times, and you have to let certain things go. And yeah, personally, I could see Batman definitely having both perspectives, but I think it is an amalgamation of both, to be honest. Because yeah, I am somebody that I don't like to say that past define us. I think everybody can improve over time. Some people have said stupid shit in their life. Some people have done stupid shit in their life, but it shouldn't define you. But at the same time, I also believe there are certain things that you can't come back from, or you at least need to pay your fucking dues, right? if you are trying to come back from it. Like a lot of people use the example. Granted, there are some certain examples that you don't come back from, right? Like if you're fucking doing shit with children or if you're fucking murdering somebody, a lot of people like you don't come back from that. You deserve to be in jail for the rest of your life, which I'm totally fair with. But something along the lines of like what Michael Vick did, the football player, he ran like a dogfighting ring, right? He went to jail. He spent time in jail. He did his time. That's what the government said. And I think after that, it's like, all right, man, he did his time. Like he did his punishment. You got to let him go. Like, you know, it's not like he walked free. It's like, oh, he fucking went to jail. So like stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that shouldn't define him. Like he paid for it. So that's kind of how I view that. But anyways, moving on to the Ponderer, last one we got in the Discord. If you could convince someone to watch the Batman animated series, what episode would you make them watch to hook them in, or to like make them interested in the show or Batman in general? What story you got? I mean, Heart of Ice is one of the best.
I think Heart of Ice is a really good one, but I think just because of the line delivery, I don't remember the title. So Ponderer, Ethan, help me out here, or Juice. But the very classic episode where Batman is seeing the illusion or whatever of like the skull in the sky, or like the whatever it is, death or whatever, and he's like, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman.
So that is the Scarecrow episode.
Yeah.
And I don't know the name of the episode, but it is Scarecrow's, I think, first appearance. And Batman's basically fighting off his father because his father thinks that he's a bad person or some shit like that. Yeah, I think it's something along those lines. I don't know the name of it though.
Like I think that line delivery and just like telling you like, hey, this is Batman. Like, go watch that. But also in relation to the Batman the Animated Series, I think if you just show them Mask of the Phantasm as well.
I'd probably go with the movie. I think a movie would probably be the best thing, to be honest, because you get a lot of different characters in it. I think it's solid. Because you could. The thing is you gotta. I think that's probably the best shout, to be honest, is Mask of the Phantasm, because you gotta remember everybody's gonna be different, right? Like, oh, do you want action or do you want like comedy? Do you want like a good story? If you want a good story, you give them Heart of Ice. If you want silliness, I would give them something with Harley or Joker. If you want like drama, I'm trying to think of like what's one of the most dramatic episodes. I
would say the.
Oh, if you want drama, the one where Batgirl dies.
Oh yeah,
because I think Scarecrow's involved in that too. But where Jim Gordon's going after Batman because he thinks he killed Batgirl, or it's like that's the storyline. And it has that very POV shot from inside the car of Batgirl falling. Like it's so insane. Which I can't believe they let that pass instead of letting Batgirl just fall from the building, which is crazy. It's so much worse. Anyways, moving on to the YouTube comments. We have two from Young. We already talked about the one where he corrected me on Gotham, but he says, my question is, if you have any Batmobile from a live action, which one would it be? So any live action Batmobile.
I feel like we've answered this like very early on in Batman News Weekly years. But I would probably choose most likely the Batman Forever, the blue flame, the blue ribs. I love it. It's just so iconic for me.
I would go old school 89. That's my favorite one, but I'm thinking about this practically. That bitch would be hard to park. It ain't fitting in my driveway. It's too long. It would hang off the driveway, and I think it would just like get stuck. Because driveways,
and it's also really low to the ground, so for sure.
Yeah, I saw a Ferrari yesterday because I was driving downtown, and I was just like, Ferraris look nice, but they're so low to the ground. Like, and we live in a hilly like environment, and I'm just like, how do you not fuck that car up?
Especially downtown with all the speed bumps and
shit.
No.
I see people drive Corvettes, and I love Corvettes. Corvettes look amazing. I'm like, how do y'all not fuck those up? I remember when I was younger, I saw somebody fucking had like one of those like Fast and the Furious type like Honda Civic sport cars, and there was at the movie theater. This happened at the movie theater. There was a speed bump that was built a little too high. Like this was a really high speed bump. Got stuck. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's fucking shit. So yeah, I don't know. So for practical purposes, I would go Ben Affleck's thing, because that shit looks like it can go on any terrain. Like, it's just wide.
Well, I don't want to choose 66 because there are legit people in the world that have
Yeah.
modeled their cars after 66.
Yeah.
And now there's just so many out there. So I wouldn't want the practicality of 66. Um would I be cheating to say Bale's motorcycle that comes out of the Batmobile?
Yeah. Here's the thing about that. It looks uncomfortable. That's
How
the
so?
thing. Because you're stretching your whole body across the thing. Like,
That's true.
Dude, I'm getting older. My back, my back. Damn, it's a fucking motorcycle. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen old men doing the Harleys, but they're straight up. They're like 90 degrees. You know what I mean? Like, Bales is all that would hurt my back. My low back getting off of that. Imagine
Man, you hit
fight.
one bump too.
Yeah. Granted, it has huge wheels, so maybe you don't feel it. Yeah. But yeah, I'd have to go like, because here's the thing, man. We've driven on our highways. People are assholes. You ain't fucking with me if I got the Ben Affleck Batmobile, right? Like, you overpass me, I'm hitting that nitro boost, like, bitch, crushing you and shit. Like, it's over. And then if somebody tries to get on me, I got missiles and shit, destroying people, dude. Get out of my way, traffic. But yeah, I don't know. That would be fucking crazy. I think the most impractical one is the tumbler. Yeah, like that. You can't even park that bitch.
How would you get on the highway? I think it would be too wide to get on a ramp.
I don't know, man. You got to hit the boot. You have to jump on roofs like you did in the movie. I just would hate to try to park that. Like, you know, you got to go downtown and fucking park in a spot. Like, oh, fuck. Where am I going to?
You take up 6 spots.
Yeah, dude. You got to crush people. Like, oh, I'm a billionaire. Here's some money. But yeah, that's wild. But I think I would go practicality wise. I'd go with the other one. I mean, you wouldn't drive it anywhere. So this kind of sucks. Like, they all look cool. I don't think you could drive them really anywhere. I did come out of my hotel once in Comic-Con, and somebody drove theirs straight up to the hotel and just left it there. I'm like, that's awesome. Like,
well, I know that there was one year that Zack Snyder drove Ben Affleck to Comic-Con.
Yeah, it was just like right outside the thing. I don't think I was there, but I remember seeing that. Yeah, that shit was crazy. All right, next up we got Nathan says, I love it when villains have their own villains. Example, Venom and Carnage. Are those their own villains, though? I feel like Carnage was also Spider-Man. You know?
It was Spider-Man, but it became more like, after the years have gone by, it has become a feud between Venom and Carnage.
Yeah. Which of these would likely to perform best? Slime Face, failed singer who Carlo, a.k.a. Clayface, but an acidic slime villain who fights Clayface for the role of a singer biopic. Interesting. Woman Cat, meta-human that is Catwoman's Man-Bat. Death Cap, Poison Ivy, but with fungus. Last of Us level threat. I'm going to go out and say all of these are kind of trash.
So I'll be completely honest with you. I had a really hard time reading the first one. I guess Juice's dyslexia came on to me when I was trying to read these comments. Because Slime Face, I read it as Smiley Face. And I'm like, that's Chip Zdarsky's guy. That's already a villain. No, but Slime Face, I don't like the idea of like an acidic person that is able to shapeshift. I feel like that could be very complicated to write.
How do they not burn everything?
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's the Midas touch, you know, how do you not turn everything into gold? Same thing here. How do you not turn everything into just boiling goop after burning everything? Woman Cat is probably the easiest Elseworld story. Honestly. And then Death Cap,
well, the thing is, Catwoman has literally turned into a cat before in the animated series. So she is technically Woman Cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and then I don't think fungus would really matter to Poison Ivy.
Yeah, I just feel like fungus is still plant-based, so it would still just be Poison Ivy.
Yeah. I just like Tom King made Poison Ivy too OP for me. And I'm like, she bodies everybody. Like she literally controlled everybody in the world. Like he made her so OP. Moving on. Alexis Barrera, what goes into creating an iconic Batman character? Like, for example, Bane worked while the Signal and Ghostmaker didn't. It is design, writing, or something else. Well, it's everything, I think, to be honest. I don't think one character has come out and just like their design alone has made them successful, because I don't think what's her face, Joker's new love interest, Punchline, great design. I think she looks fantastic. I don't think she's that great writing wise.
I don't know how I can't say that for sure, because there was those backup stories that were in a whole bunch of books that we did not read.
Yeah.
And we've kind of fallen off of the Gotham game, the Punchline title.
Yeah.
I think that there's something there, but here's the problem that DC editors, and I don't think Tynan really had this problem, because he made her the way that she was intended.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but then there's this whole wave of idea of like female empowerment, female individuality, right?
Yeah.
So they made Punchline into Joker's side piece, and then immediately was like, I'm gonna be my own woman and I'm gonna rule Gotham.
Yeah.
But it's like, in my mind, it should have been, hey, I'm gonna rule Gotham until Joker returns. Because remind me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure she was the only one who knew Joker wasn't dead.
Yeah.
From the whole like Joker War thing.
Yeah.
So like, I think she still would have worked out fine as the Joker side piece. Not saying she's not a badass and could be individualized.
Yeah.
I just think that it was too fast of a swap to really be like, okay, like, I get it. I get what people want from this, but there needs to be development from it. You can't just be like, bam, we're going to change her into this right now.
Yeah. It also goes down to, again, writing matters, because I don't remember a lot of the, like, I am my own, like, character kind of thing. Although I do remember she was in jail and, like, the podcast stuff and all that jazz. But, like, the way you get around the, like, you could be a badass woman and a side piece. Like, it's, you know, like, I think people, again, kind of like the word hypocrite, people are just like, oh, side piece, it's negative. And it's like, no, like, it's just like, oh, you know, it's just slang, in my opinion. It's their partner. Like, you could just have her. Obviously, the way you get over villains is usually have them do something heinous or crazy, right? Like, that's what gets over a lot of villains. You ever do something crazy, and then maybe have the person that's getting killed or whatever say, like, you're just Joker's side piece or some shit right there. And that's when she can explain. She's like, oh, you think Joker controls me? He doesn't control me. I just like to be with Joker because he understands my crazy. You know what I mean? Or something along those lines, to where you showcase, like, oh yeah, I don't listen to him. Like, I like to do things with him because he gets me, you know?
Yeah.
And you still kind of keep that manipulation possibility there, because maybe he knows how to control her, but at the same time, you're having her do her own shit. And like, you know, that's kind of how you write it. I think a lot of people I think it comes down to the writer, right? If you only have a female character there to like do the lovey-dovey shit, or like, oh yeah, I'm here to help you, like, then you're turning them into a side piece. I think a lot of characters, is why I say writing's important, is you need to, like you said, flesh out those characters.
Well, here's a question, kind of evolving this conversation a little bit more with Punchline. The idea of, because I think a lot of people didn't like the idea of Joker manipulating another woman.
Yeah.
We found out that it really wasn't Joker manipulating her. She really was a psycho, and she was seeking him out.
Yeah.
Like, was that enough for people to be like, oh, that's the case? Or is it the idea of like, oh, well, that's sickening. Why would you make a woman do that for this psychotic individual? Like,
yeah.
For me, I think that you kind of have these types of people in the comic world, to make sure that things don't stay stale.
Yeah.
You know,
it's also, I don't like the idea that women can't be crazy. Like, I hate how like there's that weird stereotype. It's like, oh, you're just making her look bad. I'm like, are we trying to say that women can't be villainous? That women aren't bad people too? Like, is that what we're saying?
It's a very weird world that we're living in. because I totally get the sentiment, like
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be attacking women, all of this other stuff, and but the idea of like in a fictional world where you know these things happen to crazy individuals,
Yeah.
I think that it kind of has to be
Yeah.
gender neutral for craziness.
I
So
mean, if I were to write this legitimately from my own personal experience from women I've dated, I've seen how manipulative and crazy women can be. And I'm not
yeah,
just saying that as like, oh, my exes are crazy. Like, no, if anybody that's known, I've talked about this on my podcast. I've talked about this on my streams. Like, I dated a girl that hid 2 kids from me. Like, women can be as manipulative as men. You know what I mean? I had another ex try to destroy my next relationship. Like, it's just kind of crazy. Like, people do things. We're human. Everybody has the same emotions. The way women can be emotionally crazy, men can be the same way, or vice versa, you know? And so, like, I just don't like that idea. To answer your question, why Ghostmaker and Signal didn't work, Signal, I feel like, came at the end of a run, and they were just kind of like, he should have, well, technically Signal was there the whole time, but he didn't become Signal until after Snyder's run was already over, if I'm remembering the timeline properly. So, like, there was nowhere for him to go.
yeah.
And like they gave him like a 4-issue run. Like, that's not going to do anything, right? So I don't think they planned out. I feel like Signal was made and then they didn't have a plan for him after that. That's, I think, why Signal failed. Ghostmaker was just made too OP and too annoying, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was one of our biggest hangups. Like
Yeah.
the very first time we read the Ghostmaker like introduction
Yeah.
was he figured out every problem in Gotham
Mm-hmm.
within 2 pages.
Yeah.
And there was still 20 pages left of story. And like the overall outcome was Batman was like, "Oh, you can be smarter than anybody in the world, but if you're not up to snuff, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah." It's just like I don't understand this character.
Yeah.
Like
They made him solve 20 cases while he was having a threesome.
yeah.
Like, bro, come on. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous. Like, they just made him so too OP. And that can be a turnoff, man. Like, you have to have vulnerability in characters. I don't think I've seen him get his ass beat.
No. Even in Batman Incorporated right now,
Yeah.
I still think that everybody else around him
Yeah.
is getting their ass beat and he is still like this godly character.
Yeah. I mean, we did see him get his ass beat by Bruce in the last Batman issue, but like that's kind of not where we're at right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because we go check out the last issue that we covered. I think it's titled like Zdarsky is the worst Batman writer or some shit like that. I just know he didn't like it. But yeah, I think he got beat up in that issue, and then yeah, I don't know. I think that's the problem with him. But I think design is huge, but I think stories matters the most. Look at the Court of Owls, right? They had a cool design, they had a great story, and I
Yeah.
think that's what made them iconic. I wouldn't say that Tynan's designs had so much potential. Like, his characters had so much potential. The writing wasn't there. And I think that's why I think Punchline is the only one. And I said that at the start of that run, I was like, Punchline's the only character people are going to remember from this run. I mean, I guess he has Ghostmaker and they're like throwing Ghostmaker down our throats. But I think that's because toys are implemented in that. So they're probably trying to get some merchandise off of that. I am going to dread the day we see Ghostmaker in an animated series or a movie. I'm just going to be like,
Well, there was those rumors for quite a while that Ghostmaker was going to get his own series on the CW.
yeah, that'd be terrible. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. So I would say writing and design are very, very key to any kind of character, to be honest. Moncray, what are your thoughts of the 2004 Batman series? I think it's underappreciated. Which one's that? The
That's
Batman
Yeah, it's the Batman.
with
That's
the
where
ugly ass Joker?
yeah.
Yeah. I remember I've watched a few episodes. I don't like the art. I don't like the art of it, but I didn't hate the episodes.
I'm going to have a hot take. It's my preferred animated series.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't watched it all, so I can't fight you on that right now. So
I love it. And to edit my question from Young, I think this Batmobile is the most practical,
Mhm.
but still looks like a Batmobile. Unlike Pattinson, where it's just a car.
Yeah.
This one has like a little bit of like the Lamborghini Mustang look,
Is that the one with the
but
red window?
no, it
Oh.
has all the blue lights and neon stuff all around it.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is my preferred animated series. I love it. It actually gave Penguin like his like penguin-esque voice,
Mhm.
rather than in Batman the Animated Series where he just sounds like a rich dude.
Yeah.
Um, I love this. I absolutely love this. The way they expanded the universe with the Batman versus Dracula movie as well.
Yeah, I saw that. That was good.
Very, very good. I dig it, man. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the art style. It's kind of the same thing with Brave and the Bold. I haven't seen Brave and the Bold because I wasn't a fan of the art style. And that's kind of like how I'm with anime. If I don't like the anime, like the style, like I'll never watch One Piece. One Piece makes me want to throw up.
I
So,
will I will say this: if you can find enjoyment in Teen Titans Go,
mhm.
you will find enjoyment in Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
It's like the cappiness of 66 with like some solid storytelling of like Batman the Animated Series. Like,
Does it have like innuendo adult jokes in it? Because that's what
yeah.
Teen Titan Go has. It's so fucking funny.
Well,
I
like
love those.
it has the very famous, and you've talked about it before,
Mhm.
the like,
Oh,
oh, justice is
yeah.
unisex, and like
Yeah, I love
beats
that.
up the
That's so good.
trans. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Batman. It was actually supposed to be expanded into an entire universe. Unfortunately, the last season of the Batman didn't go well with
Mhm.
audiences. But the last episodes were a Justice League team up where they
Yeah.
introduced Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, all these other heroes. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. Cool, cool. Moving on from Eduardo de la Cruz. You either die a hero or live long enough to see who would win. Condiment King versus Dog Welder. Now, did you look up this character?
I need to. What the
Okay,
hell
so
is
check this
Dog
out.
Welder?
Dog Welder is a guy that welds dogs to people. So he kills dogs and he
What
welds
the?
them to people. Granted, I don't even know how you could do that physically, but Dog Welder, like, why
Oh
would
my
you
god,
even,
there was two of them. Dog
yeah,
Welder and Dog Welder 2.
yeah. Why would you even get, like, he kicks Condiment King's ass and then puts a dog on him? Like, first of all, he kills dogs. Like, first of all, dogs are going to fight for their lives, I think, depending on the type of dog. So first of all, he's crazy enough to fight dogs. Secondly, he's crazy enough to weld a dog to you.
Dude, I am looking up his information. Okay, characteristics: male, height 6'4", weight 420 pounds.
Yeah, that's
What? Now, is that including all the weight of like the welding stuff that's on him also?
I have no idea.
Maybe,
He
but
doesn't look
holy
420 pounds, but he's also tall. Tall people shift their weight differently.
dude, this makes okay, guys. The creator of this character now makes total sense as of who the actual character is.
So Grant
Okay,
Morrison.
Dog Welder was created by Garth Ennis.
Yeah,
So the boys,
yeah,
yeah, like it makes total sense now.
yeah. So Dog Welder fucking beats Condiment King's ass. Okay, Batman and the Outsiders versus Rita Repulsa. I think Rita probably wins that.
Um,
Oh, Batman. I don't know. Batman's fat.
Batman and the Outsiders.
Yeah,
I
the Outsiders
think
have powered people. So
I think Batman may be able to thwart Rita
yeah.
Repulsa. But again, Rita Repulsa never fights on her own, so she's gonna
Mhm.
have monsters. She's gonna make them grow. Is this gonna be the first time we see Batman with a Megazord? Like,
Yeah.
is he gonna? Because I know he has the Justice Buster,
Yeah.
but that's only so big. Like Rita makes these people like
Well,
taller than buildings.
right now, if I'm not mistaken, there is like a Batman, or not a Batman, but like a Justice League Gundam book, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
So they all have Gundams now. So that's probably what would happen. So yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's the Outsiders with like Black Lightning and stuff, they have powers. So yeah, I'd probably go with that. The Riddler versus Scarecrow. I think we've had this before, and I think we said Riddler because
Yeah.
he would outsmart Scarecrow.
Well, so what he said was the Riddler from the Batman and Scarecrow from Nolan.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
this is just the DC characters.
Yeah.
Regular
I'd still go with the
Riddler
Riddler.
and regular Scarecrow. I'm gonna see. This is weird because like if you go comics wise, like
Mhm.
I think that the fear toxin has gotten like way out of control
Yeah.
comics wise, and so I think Scarecrow might have the upper hand here.
Okay. I always go back to the idea that Riddler was able to do everything in hush. You know what I mean? Because he was kind of the mastermind behind that whole story at the end of it.
True.
So he had a Joker involved. He had Hush involved. Clayface was there. Like
Yeah.
Superman got taken down. Like that's a pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I also think he would know. He would be smart enough to know how to counteract fear toxin. You know.
Yeah.
It also always comes down to situational stuff. You know. If hand to hand, Scarecrow probably beats his ass. So
Yeah. Probably.
well, I mean, Tom King did make his Riddler a little bit more like could probably fight you, you know? But I always think of like animated series Riddler that looks like he'd get knocked out in a punch. So that's my preferred Riddler. Jason Todd, what's one character from any franchise you'd like to see Batman to take Batman's place in Gotham for a week? Spider-Man. Such an easy switch.
Uh,
If I'm making it
from
interesting,
any franchise that you would
yeah.
like to take Batman's place in Gotham. Yeah, to make things interesting, I think that the like wholeheartedness of Spider-Man
Yeah.
going into Gotham would be very interesting. Um we all know that Joker wouldn't care at all
Yeah.
to like be out and about, so I don't think you would need to like unfortunately face the craziest villain of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would still like to see how he, takes care of everything. How what he thinks of the system of Arkham and all of that stuff. I think it would be very interesting.
Yeah. And if I was if it's from any other franchise, like just to change it up, L from Death Note. So Light, I should say. Light from
Yeah,
Death Note. Or L,
yeah,
to be honest. Either of them would be
yeah,
interesting to see how they figure out everything. But I mean, I was trying to see he just starts because he'd have to get the names of all the villains
yeah,
within a week. And fucking I guess he could go to Arkham and just write all their names in a book. But then he'd be bad himself. So I mean, whatever. It'd be interesting. I still would love to see Batman trying to if Batman could solve Light's whole situation, which I think he would be able to pretty easy. I think there's a video on that, to be honest. How Batman would defeat him. Clay says, what DCU moment would have made fans hyped the most? Cool mech suit Lex was used instead of Doomsday in BBS. Martian Manhunter also fighting Steppenwolf in Justice League. Flamingo and Killer Frost also being on Air's Suicide Squad. I don't think those last two would matter because Air's Suicide Squad was awful. I think Manhunter would probably be the biggest hype, to be honest.
I think it would have. I just like unfortunately the Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor isn't really believable in a mech suit.
Yeah.
Now I think with more development he would have been,
Mhm.
but we didn't really get to see that part of his world. He relied so much on the Kryptonian ship
Yeah.
and Zod and all of these other things.
Manipulation was his biggest thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a part of Lex Luthor. And usually when it comes to comics or even the animated series and everything else, like him being the one to get his hands dirty is always a last resort.
Yeah.
Which would have been great to see eventually. And I hope that's kind of what we see in James Gunn's DCU, like
Yeah.
to finally get that development. But I think the Martian Manhunter actually seeing action in Justice League probably would have been the most hype thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think definitely that wins. And then our last comment is from Teeny or Tiny. Why do I say Teeny? Tiny Beauty. Why don't Batman's enemies just shoot him in the mouth? Plot armor. I feel like everybody can throw out plot armor for everything. I feel like we've always talked about that. Why don't they just drop a nuke on Spider-Man? Like, why don't they, you can do that for everybody. Like, if you try to bring realism into comic books, you're not going to have a good time. Like, it just doesn't work. But I think I'm pretty sure a lot of people have tried to do that with Batman. You know what I mean? But like a lot of villains that have shown they're narcissistic and they're like, I gotta tell you how I'm gonna be the greatest person, and then you're gonna die. And in that time, Batman solves how to beat them. You know. But yeah, we've had the discussion of plot armor a million times on this podcast. I hate the term because I feel like it's what people just bring out when they don't have an intelligent way to actually discuss comics. It's just like, it's plot armor. He beats everybody. And I'm like, if you actually read comics, you would understand that he doesn't beat everybody. But it's, everybody just is on Twitter and they think they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But
I
other than
just my 2 cents on the whole
yeah.
thing is the idea of Batman being shot in the mouth has, I feel like, been dealt with. There's been
Odyssey.
plenty, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there was a story, if you ever watch.
Did Zdarsky do something when he got hit in the face? I don't know, because Zdarsky's had some random shit recently too.
I don't remember. If you watch the animated movie Gotham Knights, it is technically supposed to be the years between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and it somehow makes sense, but it's just how some people take it. There's a story of Batman creating this like electromagnetic force field for when people shoot at him, the bullets will bounce off. And then he saw how like destructive it could be by like a stray bullet hitting somebody.
Yeah.
I think in comics there is something like that for Batman. We haven't really seen it a whole lot because I think a lot of people just forget about things like that, and they're just like, oh, well, it'd be cooler if we see Batman, get shot up with bullets and his cape gets all torn up or whatever. You also have to look for the aesthetics also when it comes to that kind of thing. And Juice is right. The idea of like Batman could be shot in the mouth like every single issue, or if he was shot in the first issue, boom, no more Batman. So
yeah, you can't bring everything, like you can't try to make everything realistic. That's why I hate realistic Batman in the movies nowadays, because it's just so boring. Also, Batman can barely eat C4 in the Batman, and he's totally fine. So like,
for real,
he's got superhuman skin. But I don't. There have been plenty of people that have tried to explain why he doesn't get shot in the face, but it's just not interesting. It's like Zdarsky trying to show the underwear having practicality. Like, there's no reason for it. You didn't need to do that. And I think it's the same thing with the face stuff. Because if you want evidence, try to read Batman Odyssey and see that he has a face shield. And there's apparently a magic face shield that is over his money, because he literally gets shot in the face in Batman Odyssey. So if you want evidence, it's there. But it looks stupid. It looks dumb.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how we thought Zdarsky having a bat suit that was also a space suit was kind of dumb. Like, we've seen him in actual spacesuit with a helmet and everything. But no, just the regular bat suit with a basically surgical mask almost with oxygen tank was totally good enough for him to survive in space, which I call bullshit. Those things you can complain about, but like, I don't know, if you want them to explain it, sometimes it's just not good enough. So just kind of what is it? Disband belief? Descend? I don't know how to say it. Disband?
It's
I don't know the proper word. Suspend disbelief.
Yeah,
I don't know if what I'm trying to say right. Anyways, that's the last comment, and we have no comics. I believe if you are interested in reading Batman comics this week, I think the newest Detective came out, if I'm not mistaken. There's also the Tim Drake story, if you're still interested in reading Tim Drake. What else? I'm trying to load the thing, but okay, it's down here.
Looking at it right now, it looks like there was Graduation Day #6. I am gonna read that myself.
Yeah.
Also, just announced, I already made a TikTok on it. I'm gonna be releasing it later today. Blue Beetle is now part of Dawn of DC, and he is getting an ongoing series coming out in September.
Oh, interesting.
So, I want to let everybody know, don't let this one fail. Like, it's going to be the same creative team, so you're going to get the same The same writer, the same artist. I know that production wise it may seem like a lot, but I kind of hope they still do the English and the Spanish versions, so
Yeah.
that way they can include those people who only read and speak in Spanish to
Yeah.
be able to enjoy that as well. I think that would be very cool. There was Harley Quinn. We haven't been reading that. And then, of course, Green Arrow #1 came out. Apparently, there is a brand new villain introduced into the DCU or DC
Ah,
universe. Yeah. So I will be reading that one as well. I wasn't able to really catch up on reading this week.
yeah.
So I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah, I skimmed through Detective Comics. I have no idea what the hell is going on. There's also a backup about like some shirtless guy and this girl, and she kicks Freeze in the nuts. Like, I don't know what's happening there. It's I
Does it
am
look like it's still doing the whole like
Oh yeah, that whole weird
Odyssey
spiritual
thing?
kind
Yeah.
of random shit. Yeah. It still has all those weird characters. I feel like that story's been going on for like a year, it feels like. Um,
Jesus.
I'm just sad, man, because I think Ram V is awesome, and I don't know why. I don't like that story. Maybe it's too gothic-y. I think he tried to go a little too hardcore,
Yeah.
which is crazy because he did so well on Catwoman. Um, but
Wait,
yeah, there's also Riddler Year One,
did he
Part
bring
4.
back Ra's al Ghul?
I have no idea. There's like a bunch of shit in that book. But it's also like I'm pretty sure Batman's still feeling old and all that kind of shit too. Like, I don't really know. But that's it for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
So this week we went back over at Star Wars Alliance to review the volume 1 of Star Wars Visions, because next week volume 2 comes out on May 4th. So go check that out. We will be reviewing that. We're going to be doing a watch along as well as doing our live. So there's a lot of stuff going on at Star Wars Alliance. Make sure to be following that on your podcast feeds. And of course, Ranger Alliance has the Once and Always review that we did. So go check that out. There won't be any new episodes for me on both podcasts because I'm taking a break in the month of May. Going to be focusing a lot on Batman News Weekly. So just go out and support that.
Nice. Yeah, I will be streaming on Friday. If you guys are listening to this and it's still Friday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, definitely come hang out. And yeah, just these next 10 days, I'm working on the new channel because I don't have to worry about my job right now. So that'd be kind of cool. Definitely come back next week, ladies and gentlemen, because we will be reviewing Batman 135, which this is a legacy issue because it is issue 900 of Batman. And holy shit, there's some stuff that happens in that book that, wow, I can't believe Zdarsky did that. So we're going to be talking about it. We have a lot to say about it, and definitely come back and check that out. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.
News Weekly.